under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Next item of business is unfinished business. And we have a recommendation to enact a mandatory ordinance of the City of Wixom Code of Ordinances, Title 13, Public Services, Chapter 13.08, Sewer Services System, Article 4, Wastewater Disposal Standards, Section 13.08.450, abbreviations to add PFAS, PFOA, and PFOS, Section 13.08.460, definitions to amend the regulations relating to PFAS, PFOA, and PFOS, Section 13.08.520, pre-treatment of wastewater facilities to amend regulations relating to PFOA, PFOS, and add a new Section 13.08.538, PFAS regulated under local limits, U.S. EPA or the state of Michigan. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, motion support. Discussion? This was an item that we were introduced at the last meeting. Councilman Sharp?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I had a question for City Administration earlier today regarding the motion as it's written. And does it actually address the change in the local limits under Section 1308.490, which is actually the table that where PFOS and PFOA are addressed? And I went back and it looked like the motion was the same as we had the public hearing on and all, so I'm just wondering, can we vote on this motion as it's written?
DPW Director Sigma?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we had spoken earlier today, and I did have a conversation with the city attorneys, and they had suggested if you would like to amend the motion to include that that verbiage with 13 or with the 490 attached to it, that it's not a significant change. It would not change the rest of the motion or the preceding pieces of it. So we can amend that piece to include 13.08.490 local limits as an addition, and that doesn't it doesn't change the public. It's a minor change, and we can proceed just as the second reading.
So while I still have the floor, I thank you, Mr. Sigma, for talking to the attorney. I agree with that, but I want to make a motion. I will make a motion to amend it, and the reason being, the whole point of this entire exercise is to add PFOA and PFOS. Just to be clear, PFOS is the summary of those two. We're adding the local limits to the ordinance. That's the whole point of everything we're doing. So we probably should call it out in the motion that we're adding it to the table of local limits.
Yes.
So I move to amend the motion as written to add, I didn't prepare this, but Section 13.08.490 include PFOA and PFOS, PFOS, local limits to the table.
We have a motion and seconded, amended motion and seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Councilman Smiley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So we're not changing anything, you just want the language to include something that's already part of the business, of the business item.
That's correct.
We just want to,
because the ordinance that we're actually going to change has the words in it, 13.08.490 as part of the ordinance. So it's kind of specific to the whole point of the motion is to change the ordinance. I think we want to match the motion to the actual words that are going to be in the ordinance.
okay. All right, thanks.
Otherwise, we're not really voting on the ordinance, we're voting on something different. in my opinion.
Okay, no, thanks for the clarification. I wasn't following that, but I think I got it.
Madam Clerk, can we just add that sentence then, after where it says relating to PFOA and PFOS, or add a new section, 1308-538 plus regulated under local limits, and add the local limits table under 1308-490?
I believe we can do that. Yep.
That way?
Yep.
Should I read the entire thing again?
No.
Okay, good.
I've got it.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're gonna insert it in between the language specific to 13.08.460 and 13.08.520,
Okay, yeah.
right, in
Okay.
order, numerical order. So-
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and seconded for the amended motion to enact a mandatory ordinance, and I'm not going to read the entire sentence again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next. No, because we amended it, right? Madam Clerk, is that correct? We
Yes.
amended it, so we don't have to, do we have to vote on the original motion then? Okay.
I think you do. I think
We
you
do?
vote on the amendment, and then you vote on the whole motion, the original, with that amendment.
All right. Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor, and it was seconded. So all those in favor of approving the regulatory ordinance, I'm not going to read the whole thing again. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passed. Original motion passes. Amended motion passes. All right, next we move on to new business. New business item number 1 is a recommendation to confirm the mayor's appointment of Kathleen McLaurin to the Senior Citizen Commission with a term to expire June 30th, 2025. And again, this is a replacement for someone that was initially appointed but is now no longer on the commission. So,
Move to approve.
motion? All right. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Second item of new business is recommendation to authorize the lease of dark fiber and purchase of dedicated internet access from Crown Castle of Troy, Michigan through the MI-CTA pricing and authorize the city manager to sign the agreements. Have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Councilwoman Fox.
Thank you. So I support what we're doing here, but I did have a question about on the second page of the motion sheet. It indicates that the dark fiber implementation would eliminate the need for the following services: firewall. So can you explain to me how that would work if we don't have a firewall anymore?
Absolutely. So the bigger picture of what we're attempting to accomplish here, and really what these reductions and other kind of physical or software needs, is that we'd be centralizing our IT operations entirely at City Hall and then using this dedicated dark fiber access for our remote facilities, so fire and DPW, they would all run through our system. So we would still have a firewall, we would still have these security measures. It just all runs through here and then branches back out to them.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was my only question.
Councilman Sharp.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I spoke to Assistant City Manager Benson this afternoon about this, and in the summary, it says, just based on the quote, city administration recommends Crown Castle for this dark fiber network update. But if you look at the total, it's $600, $700 over the course of 10 years difference between the total cost. So I asked Mr. Benson if there was more to it than just that. Surely there was some basis for the recommendation. Would you like to just kind of give a council a update on what you and I spoke about?
Yes.
That there's more to it than that, just the
Absolutely.
dollars.
Happy to do that. So in the big picture, there are really only two options for dark fiber that we have access to here in Wixom. It would be Crown Castle, which is relatively newer, or 123 Net. You'll notice that, yes, their quotes are very similar, eerily similar actually. And when it comes to pricing, they really have kind of tiered scales in terms of, you know, if you pay more for the non-recurring cost, your monthly goes down and vice versa. So there's a lot of different permutations that this could have played out. Ultimately, given the similar kind of prices, we recommend moving forward with Crown Castle because as we were moving through this quoting process over the last few months, we felt that Crown Castle was a little bit more responsive and we felt more comfortable that they would be able to address, that they understood and are able to address the operational issues and really the goals of the project. So we felt more comfortable moving forward with them given the similar prices. Our IT consultants with Skynet Innovation also has expressed that they've had positive experiences with both companies. So they were comfortable with either and supported our decision with Crown Castle.
Thank you.
I will say we also have Ty Dalden from Skynet Innovations, who is relatively new to working with Wixom, but serves as our account representative. He can assist with any, you know, kind of more detailed questions that you all may have tonight.
Councilman Barry.
My only question is, don't we currently have an existing business relationship with 123Net for the water tower or something? Don't they lease that?
But isn't that for wireless service? So that didn't necessarily come up in I guess our negotiations related to this.
Well, Marilyn, maybe you know this. How much are they paying us a year to lease our water tower? I just wasn't sure if that's something we should take into account.
17,000 approximately a year.
So are we basically effectively going to kiss that goodbye by going with a different company because you felt more comfortable with them?
I would venture not, because the reason they're picking our tower is because it fits their network needs, and I don't think there's going to be something that can just step in and fill that as easily as that. So I don't think they'll go away mad.
I just wanted to make sure you guys were taking that into account. It sounds like you didn't even know that we had that. Or
I personally did not, but
We did
Thank
know
you.
that, so. Understood.
Also worth noting is it comes at a saving by consolidating all this hardware of $13,000 a year, so $130,000 over the 10-year period, so that's
well,
worth noting.
in the number one thing, you know, and I appreciate Chief Geisler being here tonight, as well as Mr. Sickman, who would probably already be here for his agenda items. The primary reason for doing this, while there is the opportunity to save costs, is it helps us address operational issues with our telecommunications and internet access at our remote facilities. Over the last few years, as we've made changes to our phone systems and really become more reliant on the internet for our operations, when there are disturbances or there are issues, it creates significant problems. So I know we talked about this at some length during the budgeting season when planning for this project, but I just really want to highlight that is the main thing that we're planning to get out of this this new arrangement will be that we will have much more consistent and quite frankly better speeds for internet and phone reliability.
All right, seeing no more discussion, we have a motion and a second on the floor for the recommendation to authorize the lease of dark fiber and purchase of dedicated internet access from Crown Castle of Troy, Michigan through the MICTA pricing, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreements. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Third item of business tonight is a recommendation to approve the transfer of an existing Michigan Liquor Control Commission Class C on-premise retail liquor license, an existing specialty designated merchant SDM off-premise retail liquor license, and authorize the issuance of social district Sunday AM and Sunday PM sales permits for PNC Wixom LLC at 49115 Pontiac Trail, Wixom, Michigan, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement restricting transfer of the liquor licenses. A motion?
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Councilman Gottschalk.
Thank you. Looking at the social district request for Sundays, being that social district is more than just one day, correct?
Yes, the social district is, well, it's governed by our operating and maintenance plan, but I believe that's open at all times. I think it ends at 11 PM?
Yeah.
I'd have to look at it.
I guess, how does this factor in then? Because it's calling out a specific day.
Those are additional permits.
Okay.
So it's issuance of a social district pause Sunday AM and Sunday PM. That's not related to the social district, that's a separate permit.
All right, all right, thank you.
That comes from a change that occurred a while back in the law. Yep. Right. Any other discussion?
I do want to note that the applicant is in attendance, Wixom Station, if you all,
Ah.
if you'd like to.
Yeah, would you like to come to the podium and introduce yourself?
Good evening to the City Council, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Sunny Polite, and my partner Benny is there. And so, just a little bit of quick history. The owners that ran Wixom Station for past almost 10 years now, Frank and Tony, they were my ex-partners in our other location that I run now in Auburn Hills, which is out in Chino, Auburn Hills. We also run Chino's in Troy, and we have another business in Clawson, hospitality industry. So we've been doing this for around 30 years, and we're looking to keep pretty much everything the same and just improve on what's been going on with Wixom Station and just make it better for the community people and everyone here.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a recommendation to approve the transfer of an existing Michigan Liquor Control Commission Class C on-premise retail liquor license, an existing specialty designated merchant, SDM, off-premise retail liquor license, and authorize the issuance of social district, Sunday AM, and Sunday PM sales permits for PNC Wixom LLC at 49115 Pontiac Trail, Wixom, Michigan, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement restricting transfer of the liquor licenses. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, and the last item of new business this evening is recommendation to direct city administration to prepare the ballot language for the renewal of the city's additional operating millage and ballot language to replace the local roads millage with language to be specified by city council. All right. City Manager Brown, do you want to give us a precursor here?
Yeah, so this is a follow-up to an initial conversation that City Council's already undertaken regarding potentially looking at our roads infrastructure needs and making a change in terms of the way that we approach that from a funding standpoint. Coming out of that first meeting, there was a set of feedback that we had from Mayor and Council that we tried to incorporate in this report. If you look at the second page of the report, we start to get into the basically 3 decision points that we're looking for, the final guidance from Mayor and Council as to what you would like to see placed on the ballot. One of the things that came out of the early discussion, that earlier meeting, and subsequent research related to the election timing and those sort of things, it was our understanding the council wanted to proceed potentially with one tax-oriented question in the primary of August of 2024, and then proceed with possibly a second one at the November general election. So that's the timing of it that we have in front of you, and we're looking for the decision points unless we've missed something, and we're certainly ready to entertain anything else that Mayor and Council wants to speak of if it's not covered in the report. But to begin with, we were looking for a decision as to the renewal of the additional operating millage. Is it for the up to the 3.5 mils? Is it for a 4-year term, which is what it currently is as a standard MO? You could potentially put it up for a longer period of time. I would think that could potentially impact whether it becomes a renewal at that point, which is not something that I would recommend because of that particular complication. But we're looking for a decision on those 2 points on the additional operating millage. The second one is a replacement potentially of the local roads millage, where we could increase it from its current, what it was originally approved for at 1.15 mils to a different level potentially. That one was for a period of 10 years, and we're expecting that you would proceed with that again, but that's up to your discussion this evening as well. And then potentially you could look at, instead of a local roads change, you could look at a general roads millage where you're just passing a total overall millage, not anything in specific for local versus major. We did clarify with the city attorney's office that that would be something that could be pursued in that fashion. Otherwise, you could decide to just impact the local roads millage if that was your choice. And then we have some recommendations on each one of those 2 points. And then finally, we basically talk about a decision on the additional 0.5 mils being something that we could levy and then utilize for roads purposes or other purposes in that upcoming season. That would allow you to make a change to your roads funding pretty immediately. It'd be something that you could do in the 2024-2025 budget cycle, and we could address additional roads needs that way. Then you could split that in a variety of ways. There's an example that's listed there. If you did levy the full 3.5 mils, current council practice has been to only levy 3 mils of the originally approved 3.5 mils. If you were to do that, you could allocate, get 0.17 of that 0.5 mils to local roads, and then use 0.33 mils for major road activity. If you wanted to do something akin to that, that would allow that flexibility, afford that flexibility. So that's the 3 main points that we were looking for, specific feedback and direction from council for this council meeting. And obviously, if there's anything else that comes up during the discussion, we're happy to hear that as well, and happy to move forward with any direction from council on a legislative basis. So that's my intro.
Assistant City Manager Benson, you have something to add?
I did. I just wanted to add a couple pieces of flavor to City Manager Brown's statement. Part of the intent of this particular agenda item at this particular time is we've asked the city attorney to start drafting up the broader ballot language so that we can fill in some of these blanks for you all at the February 13th meeting. Ideally, that at that meeting, we will be able to bring you all language that you can approve, and then we can move forward. The deadline to be, or the governor's office recommends submitting language for the August 6th ballot be submitted by February 20th. So we would be, we'd easily be able to meet that time frame. So that is part of this sort of timing process here of if you would like something to appear on the August 6th ballot, which we believe that you would, giving us the parameters and really kind of hashing that out tonight is then helpful for us to be able to get it on the first try on the 13th. The only other thing I wanted to add is in relationship to the additional operating millage, we didn't talk as much about that at our past meeting. We did cover that that is expiring. It actually expires a year before our current local roads millage, and we do need to address that this fiscal year or this calendar year in order to make a determination for that, either continuing or how we will operate with that going forward. So I just wanted to point out that additional operating expires 1 year before local roads does, but per our previous conversation, that there's an interest in doing both this year, which we can do.
Thank you. Thank you for the deadline dates, too. All right, discussion. Start down here.
For the
Councilman
purposes
Burns.
of discussion, should I make a motion on the first one? I believe we need a motion to discuss it, right?
Oh,
No, this is just,
this is just a discussion right now. We just give the city management direction, I believe. right?
Are you looking for direction tonight via motion or no?
Ultimately, yes.
Yes.
What I think the deputy mayor is saying is that there isn't a motion in front of you right now, so you could have the discussion and calibrate what you want to do in terms of the actual motion, or you can proceed with the suggestion to begin with, whatever you prefer.
I'll just move forward with the motion for the first one at least. I'll make a motion that we recommend city administration to prepare ballot language for the additional operating millage up to 3.5 mils for a period of 4 years for the August 24 presidential primary election. That'll keep it a renewal and keep it the same terms it is now, right?
Correct.
That'll be my motion.
Okay. We have Motion and the support. Discussion on the motion. Councilman Gottschall.
Thank you. Being that we've been operating at the 3.0 level the last few years, I think it'd be more appropriate to just offer that forward on ballot language rather.
Down to 7.4, I can't remember exactly what it is, but 754. And being that the city charter hasn't been amended, you know, that 8 mil cap hasn't been amended, that was our ceiling. So the additional, the supplemental up to 3.5 was done 2 cycles ago to supplement that, rather than going for the charter amendment, so. I also think that the flexibility should be there for the up to 3.5, just in case. We've been very, very diligent about not using the maximum, and, you know, kept it at 3. So I think it's good to keep the flexibility, and I think I would like to, I would support the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I agree. Let me go back. So 8 years ago, when we first put in the up to, that made a lot of debate and a lot of exchange up here, smoothed over, and it worked out. There has been years where, you know, we needed that 3.5, the full amount. I think it's been quite a while since we've needed the full. I think it's, what, 4 years, maybe 5, since we've been at, you know, the 3.5 mils, which is wonderful. But that flexibility is comforting for all of us, and I think should be for all our residents. And I guess it boils down to, for me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I like your wording for the first part here. Thank you.
Councilman Sharp?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Regarding the August, I know in here why we decided on August for the 3. First of all, I support Councilmember Behrman's motion, but just wondering, when we craft the language in the public campaign, so to speak, for getting it passed, will we explain why we're doing it in August? That we're kind of trying to pull it away from the fog of politics in November and let people focus on just that in August? Is that kind of going to be our message, that we're pulling it ahead? We don't need it yet until August or end of fiscal year 2025. Normally we'd vote in November for that, I think. And we're pulling it ahead just to kind of get it out of them so we can have a serious discussion about it or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think that's
Is that
part
what
of the
you're thinking?
rationale. I would expect that would be part of the information campaign that we would share with the public is on that front. I think that makes quite a bit of sense. We haven't obviously drafted it as of yet, but that's certainly something that I would advocate being in there. The other thing is just, you know, as you said, there's going to be a lot of noise at the November election. I think that will be lesser so in the August election. So I think that would be beneficial from the city's standpoint, just to have that at that election instead, and I think that makes sense perfectly from a explanation standpoint to talk about that. So yes, I think that's going to be part of it. The other issue is if it were to be to suffer a setback or defeat, you'd have the opportunity to recalibrate your public information campaign and take another step towards that at the November election. Whereas if you don't, if you do it in November and it fails, then it's going to lapse if it doesn't pass at that election.
Thank you. And if I may, Deputy Mayor, one other thing crossed my mind. Councilmember Gottschall asked about 3, and I'm a proponent for only spending the 3. I don't want to go to 3.5 mils if we don't have to. I'd like to keep it at 3, but I'm concerned about the message if we say, we probably can't say renewal anymore. I would guess if we go down to up to 3, or there might be some hiccup there, that would make it more challenging to convey that message. And based on recent things that we've passed, where we've either said renewal or even charter updates, and we just haven't had a lot of pushback. And I don't want to create any reason to have pushback. We have a pretty low tax rate right now. I think we can just keep it at up to 3.5 and not confuse anyone with a change. Just say renewal. Thank you.
Councilman Gottschall?
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's thoughts and whatnot. Does this officially expire end of June 2025 then? Because I think the expiration year in the chart I saw just said 2025, fiscal year end 2025.
Yeah, so that would mean the last time we can levy is this July 2024.
So funding is technically done end of June next year.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Some of the renewal and explaining it to people as a renewal, I think alternatively, they would love to know there's less potential to get taxed an extra $500,000. Working in real estate, I know aside from interest rates, everything is especially unaffordable because everyone's seen 33, 40, 50% jumps in homeowners insurance, and property taxes resetting is an ugly thing for anyone buying a home right now. So I appreciate the flexibility aspect of it. I think that's where we get into maybe some of the things that come up at budget of, hey, can we add a bunch of these positions or whatnot, comes in because we have that flexibility. I'd like to run a little bit more lean and not give us the option to even think about things that are maybe not financially the best moves. So I just, between the renewal, I'm not concerned about renewal versus explaining to people, hey, there's potential for you to be taxed less. I think they'll understand that. And really, it sounds like our charter cap rate is at a little over 7.5. So if people really wanted the extra half, I suppose you can do a Headley rollback on a ballot as well and try and bump it back up to 8. I believe that would be allowed. But it's just, I don't like continually renewing the same thing under the premise of it gives us flexibility. We haven't used it for a few years, and I think that's great. And I think we should signify to the residents that we don't intend to use it. As long as taxable values continue going up, the amount we bring in per mill is going to continue to increase. Inflation should hopefully stay lower than it was the last year. But I don't like going for is this third time since we've been up here to call it a up to 3.5 again. I'd rather go 3.0. So I'd make a motion to amend Councilman Behrman's motion to make it up to 3.0.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second for up to 3.0 mils. Any more discussion on that, or do you want to just go to a vote?
Who's not in favor of the amendment?
Okay, let's vote on it. All those in favor of the amendment for 3.0 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Gotchel?
Yes.
Councilmember Grunland Fox?
No.
Councilmember Sharp?
No.
Councilmember Smiley?
No, please.
Mayor Beagle, or I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Resnick?
No.
Councilmember Behrman?
No.
Okay, we have 5-1. Motion is defeated. Now we have a motion for a renewal of the general operating millage of up to 3.5 mils for a period of 4 years. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Motion passes. So that takes care of the general operating, and now let's move to the local roads millage renewal. Discussion, okay, Councilman Gottschall.
Thank you. I had a few statements and questions, I guess. So I believe when we were doing our study session, Mr. Sigma had mentioned that the major road funding through Act 51 is kind of fine as it is. It covers our projects. Am I recalling that correctly? Okay. 50-50, kind of, sort of? Okay, mostly? Okay. So in looking at what we got and what we discussed in our study session as well as what we have tonight, what I really took notice of is what level we need to be at funding-wise just for local roads. and it seemed like that was 1.97 mils moving forward for at least the next 10 years to get up to a 6 PACER rating level. So being that local roads is essentially 2, I guess for discussion's sake, if we did want to do a joint major local roads was one of the things and whatnot, I guess I think we would need to be slightly above the 2 recommendation to account for major roads. Otherwise, if we're at 2, we're taking money away from local road projects and sacrificing that long-term PACER rating. The other question I had was, this was estimated for 10 years. Do we think that's going to be a long enough period to get, I mean, this is a projection that in 10 years we get there, but do we realistically think that we should be at 10 years, or should this be 15, a 15-year millage? Are we currently at 15?
I believe it is 15 right now.
Very long term, yeah.
So it could be 15.
Mr. Sigma, do you have any input on, I mean, I'm sure you'd love to see 30 years and a whole lot more, but.
Yeah, as long as, the longer the better.
You think 10 though?
But 10 would be, I guess, the minimum at this point.
Okay.
And if we could go, if we recommend 15 and have the joint roads so that we could move it back and forth. Because the local roads, current millage says local roads, and we can't move that back and forth. If we just say roads, from what I'm understanding from the attorneys is, yeah, we could use it 60% one year with major roads and then 40% the following year, or some, you know, something to that liking, just depending on our needs for the year. So, yeah, that would, if it were 15, I'd say keep it, put it at 15 and then add the just roads and keep the local piece out so that we have that flexibility.
Okay, so it seemed like in combining the 2 charts that we were given, the projection would need to be for major and local 2.33 mils per year if you combined and wanted to get both to a 6.
Right.
Okay. And then it sounds like 10 years would be a minimum. I guess, and it's something I've mentioned, and I think the deputy mayor's mentioned as well, is built into that number, I think we need to account for inflation as well. So if 2 now is what gets us there, hopefully in a decade, maybe 2 isn't the number, it should be something higher. So if we're going to do a joint roads millage and 2.33 is the number, then maybe it needs to be a marginally higher than that to accomplish it. Or we can have, was up to language in the roads proposal? Did we have proposed language? I thought, either way, if we didn't have it in here, which I thought we did for some reason, but having up to, and then that's where the flexibility, if we can get away with not doing the full amount now, but in 2 years and things go crazy, inflation's up again, and we need to do more, then that makes more sense to me. Up to is in there, okay.
It is up
to. Okay. So those were really my thoughts, is accounting for inflation, and if we're going to combine them, then knowing that the number isn't 2, it's 2 1/3, and then what do we do with inflation? I forget. I feel like there was something else, another time we discussed with the attorney, language for a ballot proposal that would allow for adjustments based on CPI, and I think that was poo-pooed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that went over well.
We couldn't do that.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
Those
you.
are my thoughts.
Mr. Sickema, while you were up there, So the Act 51 funding is very specific for what can go to local and what can go to major, is that correct?
It primarily falls into major roads. And then as we do projects, we use them for the major roads. And if we need it to roll over to the locals, we can do that. And we do that on occasion to match the funds or to improve a local road section. So, I mean, the Act 51 is both.
So it's both.
Right now, but it primarily goes into the major roads account first, and we try and use it there. Depending on the amounts and, you know, what we're budgeting for the year, we can roll it over to the other side.
Any more discussion, other than I can try to formulate the motion here?
If I may, Your Honor, just to clarify something. So we also probably should address if you want to address the existing local roads millage that's not set to expire yet. So this would be intended to replace that, correct? And we'd be eliminating the local roads millage. So I just wanted to clarify that. We'd give that direction to the attorney and make sure that we get it done the proper way to accomplish that, if that's what City Council's looking for, which I believe it is. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to say it for the record, if you will.
Okay. And I'll formulate a motion here then. Oh, we have more discussion.
Oh, I also like the idea of the joint road millage, you know, for both local and major. If that has to be, the point you just made about part of that will be replacing an existing one. You don't have to answer this, but maybe ask our attorney if that will confuse the wording. I hate to see it get, you know, too jumbled up and frustrate anyone trying to figure it out. What are we asking for here?
I don't know that I see that as really potentially too confusing. I think if you just, you know, you're basically adding roads millage funding at a new level and replacing what you had previously, which was categorized slightly differently as just a local roads millage. I suppose there could be some room for confusion there, but I don't see it being a great deal of confusion there. And I think we'll make sure that with the public information campaign, we make that as clear as we can. We'll be doing a lot of work on this.
That always helps, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not particularly concerned by that confusion point, no.
good.
Councilman Beer?
I also like the idea of it just being a roads millage, and I think, you know, an education plan that what they were paying, 0.87 for major that expired, and 1.15 for local, so it was slightly above 2, and we're only asking for 2 something. We haven't decided that number exactly yet. 2.2, 2.3. I'd rather have that number to make the motion and not be taking that number from the 3.5 we already voted on. So I guess I'm looking for guidance from someone on what that number should be.
Yeah, I think one thing I'd like to add is that if you take the 2.33 and put some inflationary potential in there and make it 2.5 initially, that would be something I would support.
If everyone's comfortable with that number, I'm fine with it. I just want to make sure that we have that number to make the motion.
Councilman Fox.
Mr. Sigma, are you comfortable with that number?
The 2.33?
Yeah. Or 2.5, I think was.
2.5.
Up to
Well, the higher
2.5.
Up to, I like that language, yes.
Up to
The
2.5.
Yes, and I was comfortable with 2.33, but yes, I think and do it the same as the 3.5, different years are gonna matter in the future, so.
Depending on costs and.
Right. I was looking at the ad, what is it, right now it's $798,000 a year per mill, and I always kind of back calculate it off of the 3,600 homes. That's how many water residents we have, and it's like $18 a month.
One more question, I'm sorry. What is the, if you know this off the top of your head, the cost per lane mile for construction?
So we've been using $1 million a lane mile for years, and yeah,
It's probably a little
it's more like 1.5. in reality right now.
And how many lane miles do we have?
Just under 50,
50?
50 miles of roads. So, yeah, there's more lane miles, but that's how many miles of road we
Thank you.
have.
Councilman Gutschall?
Thank you. In talking about what we should go up to as a number, and 2.5 was suggested, and that's kind of where my head was at. Looking, it said for fiscal year 24, 1 mil is $864,739. So that additional inflationary impact based on that would be just a little bit less than $150,000 to play with. I mean, do we think that's an actual usable amount when it comes to roads, or given that a lane mile is $1.5 million, that might buy us like 12 feet?
It might. One of the other pieces that we're working with right now is the concrete pieces of road, the industrial roads, and it doesn't affect the residential areas nearly as much, but our commercial industrial roads are primarily concrete. And what I'll be proposing in our next budgets is something to that nature, $150,000 to $200,000 a year to add, and we would do sections of concrete each year based on concrete pricing and whatnot in industrial areas. So would it make a significant difference? It would over 15 years, for sure.
Councilman Behrman?
I just had a question maybe for Marilyn. Right now, every year you give us that chart of we're one of the lowest tax communities in Oakland County. If we were to go with 2.5, where would that move us on the chart? I assumed you had said chart, or hope.
Back pocket?
0.5 minus the existing local.
Maryland has committed to memory.
I don't know there.
Existing is actually not. Or is it?
Yeah, it would probably put us at 8.
Right now, we're 7th.
Yeah.
7.
Right.
So it's still going to keep us one of the lowest tax communities in Oakland County, but providing a better roads and services to our residents. I can support 2.5. We're only going up to 8.
If I may, through the chair, just to kind of go over something for the benefit of people that weren't, we haven't covered all of the information from your study session, if you will. Just to talk about what the original goal was, we were talking about trying to raise our PASER rating, which is how we judge the status of our roads. There's a fair category that is between 5 and 7, and the funding level that we're speaking of was trying to get us to increase in that fair range into the 6.0 neighborhood. So at the taxable, or the tax amount that we were speaking of, we were trying to get ourselves to about 6.0 on major roads, and it was about 6.1 on the local roads, and that's very imprecise, mind you, because we don't know what the true costs are going to be, and we don't know the true revenues are going to be 5-10 years from now. But generally speaking, that's what current trends were going to get us to, and that's what the purpose of your discussion was. I just wanted to put that out there from an informational standpoint. And it's not, this funding level that we're speaking of is not going to get us into a 9 or an 8.5 or anything like that. It's just raising us in the fair range from lower to maybe not even fair in the future if we do nothing, to more solidly in the middle of that at that 6th level.
Thank you for the clarification. And we live in Michigan, we'll never get to a 9 or a 10.
Exactly. Yeah, just to give people an idea on that front, we talk about that all the time. As soon as you pave a road, it's at a 10. 20 minutes later, it's not, right? Because things start to happen to it, damage starts to accumulate. Right? So,
Councilman Sharp?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Question 1, where we talked about operating millage, I brought up the move to August about reducing confusion. Now, if we add this, and now we're talking replacing, not even renewal, in November, we're going to put that confusion right back into the November election cycle. What's wrong with waiting till 2025 to do this?
you would be able to levy 1 year sooner.
That's the impact.
But one of the concerns we kind of shared, I think, was capacity to even use the money that we're getting, because there aren't enough contractors out there to go and rework the roads. And we also have half a mil if we need it for some, all of a sudden, there's a dozen more contractors out there and they're begging for business. And we've got all these roads that need to be redone. We got an extra $500,000 we could use from now till November of '25. I guess I would like to think about it a little more on how much and defer the whole thing till 2025. Use the 1.15 that we have for another year, and then decide how much we need based on how much we get done this year. I know we lose a year of 85.85 mils, but we also gain an extra year of tax income on increased housing values that we heard about. So I guess I would like to hold off. If we're going to improve the confusion situation by pulling one ahead to August, let's not add to the confusion situation by creating some new thing, because this will be new. It won't be we can say it's a replacement, and I guess it is, but it's a replacement with an increase. And I'd like to defer that, and it gives us time to think about it. Plus, even for this in 2024, we don't have to decide till June 11th, it looks like, to approve the language, so we got some time.
That is correct.
So I guess I will not support anything that says November 2024 on, and then we can also vote on it again, even if it comes back, the language comes back, we have another opportunity to discuss it, right? Okay, thank you.
Councilman Green.
The only thing I'll add to that, the difference between this and our operating millage is the operating millage doesn't pass. We have to start laying off employees, cutting services to our residents. So that's why it's important for that to come in August. So if that doesn't pass, we still have another bite at the apple. If the roads millage doesn't pass, one, we still have the local road millage for another year. So I'm not as concerned as putting that one on the November ballot as I would be putting our employees' livelihood on the November ballot.
Yeah, I'd like to add that I think that putting it on the November ballot does give us another shot if it does get defeated the following year. We could, the next election, we could still do that, and then we only lose 1 year of funding potentially, right?
If you were to put the renewal or the replacement on
Replacement.
November 24 fails, yes, you'd still be able to come back and you could ask for renewal
Yeah.
in November of 25.
Yeah.
Or something.
So that, that's my feeling, is that at least it gives us another bite at the apple if it does fail. And you never know in the general election if it's going to pass or fail on a local issue, so. Councilman Brendan Fox.
So I like the idea of the operating millage going in August. In case something happens, we can put it back on in November. I do agree with Council Member Sharp as far as the confusion. I mean, we talked about not wanting the confusion, and then here we're going to put something on that's going to be even more confusing than the renewal. And it gives us that much longer to be able to talk with the public, have those input sessions, or the informational sessions, I should say. But what is the earliest we could get it on an election in '25? May? Would there be a May election?
No. Special,
isn't?
unless you do a special election.
Be August,
So that,
No, November,
just November.
there's no other elections.
correct.
That'd be a, I'm sorry.
That was, I'm done.
Yeah, it was just a real, that election would be a city election for councilman and mayor, right?
November of '25?
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Unless there's a primary, of course, which has not happened often, so unlikely, but yeah, so we're almost surely waiting until November of 2025 to get another shot.
Councilman Gatchell.
Thank you. I would also support putting it on the November ballot. I still think if we're making a decision sooner rather than later, when we go to these HOA meetings, we can help prepare people and mention, hey, you'll see something on the November ballot, and this is why. I think we don't give residents enough credit in some respects. I think the roads are an obvious one. I don't know that it's gonna be confusing to tell residents that the roads currently suck. So I think everyone can get on board with that. Our governor won an election by pointing that out to people. So I think they'll get it. I think maybe the devil might come in the details with the amount or the length of time. And I think that what you look at the charter cap amendment and that being a perpetual thing in the charter, that was a part of the heartache with residents and that. If it, I wouldn't hope it would fail, but if it did, then you also get to gauge the sentiment on what needs to change, whether it's did people take issue with the amount or the length of time? If we went for 20 years, which isn't my recommendation, but they might have said, that's about 10 years too long, then we know for the following election. So I would rather have it on this November's election. I think it'll pass. I think people get it as long as our numbers and length of time are something that people would expect. Looking at the chart here, there are communities that have up to 3 mills in Farmington, 2.8 in Farmington Hills, 2.9 in Milford Village, 2.5 in Royal Oak. And then the timeline seems to be mainly 10 years. Auburn Hills is perpetual. Troy's is in their chart. The lowest is Independence Township, but all of the rest, the majority of the rest are 10 years. Milford Village is 20 years. So as long as I think we're around that 10-year number, I think the data seems to show that that's sellable, at least in other communities, and I wouldn't imagine it would be too different here. So I would rather see us take action now, put 2.5 on for November, and then move forward that way. I don't think it's going to be that difficult to communicate with residents. We have a lot of HOA meetings between now and then. Everyone spends 23 hours a day on social media now, so we can do some videos walking down the street and showing them the potholes, so I'll get it. Thank you.
Also, just to add, the recent election, we had a safety path millage that was expiring, and we got that going, and I think there was overwhelming support from the public. So what they've had and what they're used to, they want more of. So I think good local roads in these subdivisions, I mean, if you can rollerblade in your subdivision, that's a plus, right? So, Councilman Behrman.
Would you like me to make a motion?
You want to make it? Right? You've got it kind of pre-written there, and you just have to fill in the blanks.
City administration, that we recommend moving forward with a formal motion, directing the city manager to prepare ballot language to replace the existing local roads millage with a roads millage up to 2.5 mils for a period of 10 years to be inclusive of both major and local roads for the November 2024 presidential general election.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for directing city, or formal motion directing the city management to prepare ballot language to replace the existing local roads millage set to expire in fiscal year 25-26 with a millage up to 2.5 mils for a period of 10 years to be inclusive of both major and local roads for the November 2024 presidential general election. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
We have discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Councilman Sharp.
So now that we have the motion, I won't be supporting the November 24 presidential election. I'd like to defer it to 2025, we still have the 1.15 mils to spend through the following year. And like you say, shouldn't have any trouble passing what the residents already like and are used to. They won't mind more of it. Just defer it, so it's less inflationary in my mind by deferring it one more year. They've got enough of everything being raised. Homeowners insurance, I saw that bill come through in my personal house, like 30% increase. So I would like to keep the taxes down as long as possible and not just automatically increase them. Frankly, I'm surprised some of my council member colleagues who one motion earlier didn't want to move up to 3.5, wanted to keep it at 3, now are like, hey, whatever, let's go 2.5 for 2024. So I won't be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Councilman Gotcha.
Thank you. Those of us up here who thought that way were because we know what was in line to be discussed next. So telling people, hey, we're going to reduce over here down to 3.0 mils and then also have to ask for an increase over here sounds a lot better than, hey, give us more money than we need here just because we think it's easy to renew and trick you in the language. And by the way, also give us an increase over here. I think it's a little weird to combine those two things or thought processes because they are different motions. So I think roads, and I've been saying it for years, roads are something that we needed to start working on 4 years ago, not 2 years from now. So I think it's appropriate to get this done now. Maybe we'll have another 5-1 vote. So.
Further discussion? Councilman Snyder?
Just a quick question. We're motioning to we're basically telling city administration to go, get this all wrapped up with the attorneys and stuff. So we'll vote on it again when that comes back to us. But I suppose it makes sense if you're supportive of it now, you'll be supportive of it later. So I guess you'll get to vote twice no for it.
We'll see.
But for now, we're just voting to, hey, go get this wrapped up with the lawyers and come back to us, right?
That is correct. At the
Just
first
wanted
meeting in
that clear.
February. First meeting in February. is what-
Yes, very soon, but yes. That's all I have to clarify.
All right. No further discussion? Okay. We have a motion to recommend city management to prepare ballot language to replace the existing local road millage set to expire in fiscal year 2025-26 with a millage for up to 2.5 mils for a period of 10 years to be inclusive of both major and local roads for the November 2024 presidential general election. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Councilmember Brenlin Fox,
No.
Councilmember Sharp,
Nay.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes?
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
4 yes, 2 no.
Okay, motion passes.
And we're set on a third item, I believe,
The,
the prior action.
yeah,
That's just discussion.
that was just discussion. Okay, city management, you have both motions now?
I do. We'll immediately begin working with the city attorney, getting the details exactly right, and then bring it back to you at the first meeting in February for formal action and adoption or not.
Very good.
Thank you.
There's another chance to vote. All right, that ends our new business, and the next item on the agenda is the second call to the public. I will not reread the rules for the call to the public, but the second call to the public can be for whatever is on your mind. Anybody for the second call to the public? State your name and address.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, members of council and city administration, County Commissioner Ajay Rahman, 50749 Chesapeake and Novi. Always good to see all of you. One just quick passing comment is I represent 4 communities, and I always love coming to these meetings because of the thoughtful collegial discussion. Surprisingly, at least for the residents watching or those, I think a lot of us take it for granted, but I like the fact that you have these discussions here. It doesn't always happen in some of the communities. So I just want residents to know that they are well represented and these discussions are important and you really come to decisions in the right manner. So just my hat's off to all of you on that. I just wanted to mention a few programming notes for residents. We have a few Oakland County programs that are coming to fruition here and just wanted to make everybody aware. One of them actually just kicked off yesterday called the Oakland Saves Program. I think it was advertised on the Wixom website as well. But basically, in a nutshell, it's about $5 million of ARPA funding that's used for home improvements. $4 million, or about 80% of it, is income-based, and that can be up to $5,000 worth of home improvement and renovations. So things like heating and cooling, water heaters, insulation. There's certain categories, there's a whole checklist of things, and that's income-based up to $5,000. And then there's another $1 million set aside that's non-income-based, which is 20% of the repairs up to $3,000. So just want to make everybody aware it is competitive, it's probably going to go quick. Macomb County did something very similar, and I think the money was gone in a matter of, I think, a week or two. So like I said, this just went live yesterday, wanted to make everybody aware, just for residents who are watching. We are also launching a program called Acorn to Oak that goes live February 1st. And that's a program, it's $250,000, and there are going to be grants awarded to students ages 8 to 18 that want to pursue entrepreneurship opportunities, support nonprofits and small business startups, or to support with any type of community or educational endeavors. So think, for instance, if they wanted to go to camp or need scholarship for a program or things like that. It's not meant to support sports activities, so we won't buy sports equipment. But if you think of a 10-year-old that maybe wants to start a baking business or something like that, it's really supposed to be seed money to get people up and going. So that's something too that I just wanted to make you aware. And then last thing I wanted to mention too is SMART has a transit meeting scheduled for tomorrow. So everything I've heard so far with their community transit, working through our city manager here, is going really well with the expansion so far. We're trying to tie that into bigger SMART transit and work on paratransit and microtransit options so people can get to the fixed routes instead of always having to rely strictly on the options we have currently. So just another option, looking for community feedback, so as many people as we can get to those sessions would really be appreciated for the input. That'll be tomorrow at 6:30 at the Novi Public Library, so just wanted to make folks aware of that opportunity as well. Would love, the more the merrier. Whoever can join us and give us some feedback, we really appreciate it. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rodman. Are the links for those applications for both the grants and the Oakland Saves on the city website?
I think we referred them to the website. I don't know that we have I don't think we have the forms on our website.
No, but the link
But,
to
yeah,
the
link
county
is on there.
website.
I'll
Okay.
verify that, but that's my understanding. Yes.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else for the second call of the public? All right, I'll close the call of the public, and next is city manager's comments.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've got a variety of work anniversaries here running from 1 year to 9 years. I'm going to make mention of that's Pastor Brad Stilley, our chaplain that functions with the police and fire department in that function. So he's got 9 years with the city in that role. So we wanted to congratulate everybody that's celebrating their work anniversary there. Just one fun thing for myself, I saw an article about a Wixom resident, Chris Brewer, that was in the Detroit News, and he was a Lions fan. He called the Lions shot, if you will, before the game and said they were going to be victorious by 3 points. He underestimated the points by a little bit, but I like the enthusiasm, and congratulations to him being right on that, and go Lions. The other thing that I wanted to make mention of was Transit Doodly. The commissioner mentioned the transit added transit services that are available. The city was in discussion with other Southwest Oakland County communities about that. We were trying to decide how to get an informational piece out. We volunteered to do a Doodly piece. We have that Doodly tool that we've used for other informational things, and we will use for the upcoming information campaigns on any millage proposals to get approved by council in February. But we did do a transit Doodly that we've shared with the other Southwest Oakland County communities. It's on the website. It talks a lot about the added services, the added service hours, the added times you can make those reservations, those kind of things, the removal of barriers in the service area where we used to have kind of a piecemeal thing where if you were in Wixom, it was this area. If you were in Milford, it was this area. Now we've removed all those barriers for just all that Southwest Oakland County community area. So we've expanded services, and that Doodly video provides information on that. If you're interested in that, I encourage you to take a look at it on the website. Anybody that's interested in that to take a look at that on the website, and it provides a lot of good information That was prepared by our Community Services Department, specifically Kathy Menegas, and we want to say thank you to her for that. Another good piece of work there. We've used that tool several times and we'll continue to use it. It's something you can use to put something together pretty quickly and very affordably. We have that software license and that's the only expense. So wanted to mention it, that's available. And that's the only thing that I had. Other than that, there's a variety of dates on the back of the city manager update, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Assistant City Manager Benson.
Outside of the comments I listed in my monthly report, I don't have anything specific for council tonight.
Very good. Council comments. Let's start with Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just two things. One, I want to thank the DPW and Tim Sickman's crew for being out at, I think my camera went off at 3 in the morning with the plows going down my road, and I'm sure all the roads, so thank you very much this morning. I'm not sure it ended up being quite as bad as everyone expected. I wasn't covered with ice. And also wanted to thank Assistant City Manager Benson. We had our first branding steering team meeting today with the team from Guide out of Cleveland and various members of administration and the community. And I feel like it's going to be a real worthwhile effort. Really sharp team, it sounds like, and we're going to really get rolling next week. They're going to be here in town to get us going, so thank you.
Councilwoman Granlund Fox.
I'd like to thank Kathleen McLaurin for stepping up to be on the Senior Citizen Commission. I'd also like to congratulate all those employees celebrating work anniversaries. And yes, to Mr. Sigma, thank you to your staff. They did a great job. Thank you.
Very good. Councilman Gacho. Councilman Behrman.
I'll echo the comments thanking DPW for keeping the roads clean. I mean, going to work, our roads in Wixom are nothing, are so nice compared to other communities I have to drive through to get to work. We appreciate that.
Councilman Smiley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Resnick. I just wanted to add a little bit to the comments about the branding committee that I'm also on with Councilperson Sharp, along with several members of staff and residents. It's something that I'm very excited about. I think we need a new look to our logo and some other signage throughout the city, and that's what it's about. I think they said that it might be completed somewhere in May, June, which would be wonderful. That's a fine timetable. If it takes a little longer, we'll just make sure we get it right. But yeah, some very good people involved, and very excited since we had that meeting. Other than that, yes, Tim, I think of you whenever the weather turns bad. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smiley. I have nothing else to add except for thanks again to Tim and the crew. Geez, I still can't work remote because my roads are always clear. No, great job from you and the team. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you all.